2 immigrants sur 3 ne faisaient que passer par New York. Ceux qui s'y arrêtaient et tentaient de s'y installer devaient le plus souvent faire face à des conditions de vie et de travail encore plus rigoureuses que celles qu'ils avaient connues dans leur pays d'origine. Quelques-uns firent effectivement fortune et vinrent alimenter à leur tour les mythes dorés du rêve américain. La plupart travaillèrent toute leur vie et réussirent à mieux vivre. Nous avons rencontré quelques-uns de ceux qui ont vécu cette aventure. La plus jeune a aujourd'hui 71 ans, le plus âgé en a 96. Nous n'avons pas cherché à faire un échantillonnage représentatif et nous nous sommes limités à 2 communautés, les Italiens et les Juifs, parce que ce sont elles qui furent les plus massivement concernées par Ellis Island et parce que c'était d'elles que, personnellement, nous nous sentions les plus proches. C'est à Seagate, non loin de la célèbre plage de Coney Island, que nous avons rencontré Madame Adderstein et sa fille Madame Fried. Madame Adderstein a 89 ans. Elle a quitté la Russie à 16 ans, en 1906, a passé 1 an à Londres, puis est partie pour New York, où une de ses tantes était déjà installée.
Yes. Yes. I came in I left Europe. 1906. You will help me. Yes. And I went to London. To London.
To London?
Yes. When I came to London, my brothers, one of my brothers, the oldest, was just to get married. And he himself was a rabbi. A young rabbi, yes, a conservative rabbi. And he didn't have much money to give. I shouldn't go. And the other brothers was there for just a little time. They went away from Europe, from Russia, because they didn't want to go to service for soldiers. Then, and they didn't make much neither, just quite to get along. Then I had to go to work.
And what was your work?
I was working by dresses.
Dresses?
Dresses, yes.
Is this in London?
I don't know.
No. That's in New York?
In New York. Did you work in London?
In London, yes.
You worked in London?
In London, yes. I was working in London.
And in New York, what was your work?
My work, again, by dresses. We had an aunt here, a sister of my mother's, and I stayed with her too.
Yes,
there.
you stay with her.
Yes, and they did. Then I came on Sunday, and Tuesday I went to work. It was very hard on me, because to work a whole day. Then when you worked on machine, wasn't like now electric. You used to work with the feet.
Yes.
And it was so strict. If you said you need something for the machine to work, then you wasn't allowed to pick up your head and say you need it. You have to do it. This way, not to save time, not to make any, and you had to work Saturday, and sometimes when it's busy, you have to go in Sunday too. It was very, very hard on me.
And did you return to Ellis Island?
To Ellis Island, I returned to bring this cousin.
Why?
Yes.
You mean return to Ellis Island or to
Yes.
Ellis Island, of course. When we came, that was years later.
So what's your story?
My story, we came also from Europe.
From Russia too?
From Russia, Poland, well, Russia.
Poland.
It was Russia before World War I. It was Brest-Litovsk.
Brest-Litovsk.
That's right. That's where I was born, in Brest-Litovsk. The Germans came there in 1915, 1916. They must have come there, and then in between there was the Russian Revolution in 1917. So I also, as a little boy, had a chance to see the Bolsheviks who came into town, but they didn't stay long enough. They ran away as the Germans approached. We remained there a few years until my father, who was in the United States for a number of years, waiting to take us over. But
your father went to United
States before World War I.
Before World War I.
And he was a rabbi.
A rabbi.
He was a rabbi in a city called Baltimore.
Baltimore, yes.
Baltimore, Maryland. And so he sent, as a matter of fact, he sent for us during World War I or 1914, but the cards, the ship cards, tickets were lost in the war. So it didn't, he didn't get around to it, or couldn't make enough money to send for us until 1921. And we arrived, I don't know how long it took, it must be 10 days or 2 weeks, in June 1921 to Ellis Island. And while we were still on the boat, Mrs. Adlerstein, her older brother Sam, who is now in Miami, the rich man, and her husband and my father came by on a little boat and were waving to us from the little boat to us. And I hadn't seen my father since I was almost 2 or so. I didn't.
How old were you in 21?
In 21 I must have been 14. I was born in 1907. But so I didn't, I was, since my mother said, "That's your father," I assumed it was my father. And I remembered him faintly, you see. I remembered he had a beard, and he was bald, and he still had a beard, and he still was bald, although he wore a hat. But I realized, so I was really very much overjoyed seeing here is a family coming to meet us from the boat, from a small boat, and it was a real adventure to me. Now, we stayed in Ellis Island, must be a very short time, I don't know, a day or two, and then I was given, I think I was, at that time, must have been given the name Max.
Max. Oh,
because my Hebrew name was Mordechai.
Mordechai, yes.
Yeah, you know, from the Book of Esther.
Yes, Mordechai, yes.
And so I was called Max Zeldner. That was and the name was never changed.
Do you have photographs of your mother in Russia?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Would you like to see them?
Yes.
Certainly. This is a picture of my mother's family.
This one?
Yes, this one. And this is my mother, and this was taken just before she left for London. She would then have been about 15 years old. This is the rest of her family, her mother, her father, 3 sisters, 4 sisters, and a brother.
That's 1, 2, 3,
3,
4,
4.
6, and the 3 other brothers.
And the 3
were
other
in London.
were already in London, yes. She's the only one of her sisters who left home.
And those didn't came to America?
No, only one of them came
them.
after the war, after the
the war.
Holocaust. And
1920.
this is the one sister who survived the Holocaust and came to America.
And that's
She's here now.
That's your mother?
Yeah, my grandmother.
Your grandmother?
That's my grandmother.
It was this
Sister?
the sister with her husband, with the children, and that was a younger sister, and that was a brother, and then the brother was married when I left.
Oh, yes.
Then the brother was married and had 2 children, and that was the sister that really was saved herself from Hitler.
From Hitler.
Yes.
And
this one, and this one, and the children
were killed.
left.
Yes. And this sister is alive?
This is
Yes.
other life.
In Russia?
No,
No, she's
in
here.
New York.
Oh, she came.
She
She
came.
came
after the war.
Yes.
After the war, yes.
With our two
Yes.
children.
And this, when we went there in 1923, it was for my aunt's wedding. The aunt who is here now, she was being married, and my uncle came from London, and my mother came with me to the wedding. And we were supposed to stay for a short time, but my mother didn't want to go home for a while. She wanted to be with her family.
And you have souvenir. I mean, you have memories.
Do I remember?
of
Oh
Russia?
yes,
Yeah.
I remember it very well. I was
You
9
were
years.
nine-
I
you
was
were
9
9
at that
years.
time. Yes, yes. Oh, I remember it very well. It was a very. It was completely different from anything that I had ever had. When I read stories about the shtetl now, I know what it is that they're talking about.
Yes.
It's a kind of thing where it came Friday night, Saturday. That was you knew it was Shabbos because there was no sound of any kind. Everything was still. All the lights were out except the flickering of the candles. Nobody did anything. Nobody thought to do anything, and it was very, very different. And it was a wonderful thing. And I'm always grateful that I not only that I went and had the experience, but that I had met my mother's family.
Simon Chimine a 76 ans. Il est peintre et illustrateur de livres pour enfants. Il nous a reçus dans son atelier à Soho, au sud de Greenwich Village, un ancien quartier de fabriques et d'entrepôts où habitent aujourd'hui la plupart des artistes new-yorkais.
That's in Russia. too.
Russia, yes. This was a photograph sent to America. And this is mother, of course, and I, my two brothers, and the baby was not photographed then.
Yes.
It was the
And
film.
they are in America too.
They are,
with
yes,
you?
yes, yes.
They're
They're here as business people.
Business.
They went into business.
Oh, it's better maybe to go to.
Yes, to go.
And
Right.
you see the. And that's your uncle,
That's my uncle, the composer.
the composer.
Right. There was another uncle living with us. We had a family of, I don't know how many people living besides our own immediate family.
Yes.
First came the uncles.
Uncle.
To
This one.
that one, right, and another one, and then grandmother followed, and then we followed. That was 1912.
Well, when did you came to America?
Oh, it was a very hot day, June 1912.
1912.
Right.
How old were you?
Pardon, how old? I was 9.
9.
9, right.
You came from where?
From Astrakhan.
Astrakhan. You were right.
Russia,
right. You have remember of Russia?
Pardon?
You have
Memories?
Memories?
Yes. Some of, from about the age of about 5. I had no schooling there except the Hebrew school, Cheder. I was a very mischievous kind of a boy. Mischievous, right. I remember interested in music, even then. Tremendously interested in music. I thought I'd be a musician. And there were many musicians in our house. My family was composed of, besides my parents, three other members. There were 6 of us.
6 of us?
Yes, there was a baby just before we left Astrakhan. And unfortunately the baby died when we came. She caught pneumonia on a boat. And died, yes, and died about 2 months after we came to this country. The memories were all mostly friends of many different nationalities. There were the Tatars, there were the Persians, there were the Russian, there were the Jews, there were all kinds. And we arrived in Ellis Island.
You were on steerage.
I'm not quite clear. I don't remember that was steerage, because pictures I've seen of steerage were quite different from what I remembered. Certainly it was not first class.
Yes.
And it was either the second class or steerage for all I know. Or third class, I don't know what they had then. I'm not aware, except that I was on deck most of the time. I loved watching. I just want to go back a little bit to Astrakhan. Father had an antique store. He was a cabinet maker, and he had all kinds of things. He would buy out somebody's estate, and there'd be everything from icons to antiques to animal life. So that to me it was always a wonderful fantasy place. When we came to this country, well, I'll go back to it afterwards.
Yes.
This is,
So,
yes.
as you had relatives in the United States?
What is it?
Relatives. Did
Relatives, oh yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's the reason we came originally, because of the relatives. My father's brothers who did not want to serve in the army, in the Tsarist armies, and they were the first ones. Grandmother came. They settled right here on the east side, and that's where we landed when we first came here. So we were with them.
Yes.
And but the picture became a bit serious and sad, because Father mostly was petrified what he saw in New York, of the crowds. He knew he couldn't have an antique place anymore. He didn't have the finances, and after about 2 months he decided on having a little delicatessen store in Brooklyn. And in back of the store there were 2 little rooms. One was a kitchen and bedroom, and all of us lived there, yes, which was quite different from a very, very large place we had in Astrakhan. At least Father's feeling was this is all wrong. I felt very excited about what promised to be very interesting. I didn't know, but I felt it.
Madame Kaki, c'est une Italienne de 71 ans. Elle est venue pour la première fois en Amérique en 1910 avec ses parents et sa sœur. Elle avait alors 1 an et demi. 5 frères et sœurs sont nés lors de son premier séjour à New York, dont un frère qui mourut en bas âge. En 1920, les parents et les 6 enfants repartirent en Italie, croyant désormais pouvoir y vivre définitivement. Et en 1924, ils furent à nouveau contraints de s'expatrier. Cette deuxième fois, le visa d'entrée leur fut refusé, bien que 4 des enfants, nés sur le sol américain, aient bénéficié de plein droit de la nationalité américaine. Au terme d'une longue procédure, ils obtinrent enfin gain de cause, mais ils furent entre-temps retenus sur Ellis Island pendant près de 10 semaines. Pour nous, Madame Kakis a accepté de revenir une 3e fois sur l'île.
Because our mind, you could go out of your mind, when you can't get out. But it does bring back memories right here. It really looks haunted now. with nobody in it, because it used to be filled with a lot of people. There used to be a lot of people around. Yeah, I could see that. It looks really like dilapidated now, really. There isn't much not like it used to be, it was more in place. Now it looks like all broken down. They tried to make, I remember it. Sure. Because of course they had benches then, people sitting around.
No, I don't think it is that room.
No,
I will show
this is
you
the luggage,
Yes. Maybe we'll go to the room with the luggage.
Where we used to sit, and then they would call us, and sit down and make things. And
they would call us, and whenever we had to go, when they call our name, sometimes they call the ones that had to go back.
Yes.
And sometimes they called the ones that could come to the United States. But most of the time, we were here so long, we never heard our name called. It was very hard.
You were 6. You were with your mother and 6 children.
We were 6 children all together. Yeah.
And your father?
6 children, my mother and my father. And we were all little. Then my mother got sick. They had her in the hospital. Then while she's in the hospital, my little brother got sick. They used to check every morning. A doctor and a nurse used to come and take the temperature. And then they found my little brother. He was 3 years old, and they found him with a temperature.
Yeah.
So right away they said, call the doctor fast. Hurry up. We have to get him to the hospital. I said, no, he's not sick, because my mother wasn't there. I said, no, he's not sick. Yeah, right away they took him away and took him to the hospital. And over there he got a double pneumonia.
Double pneumonia?
Sure. We all got out that day when we got called, and we had to leave him here in Ellis Island. He came out a month after we was in the United States.
Oh, he was kept alone?
They kept him alone, that baby. Yeah, 3 years old he was.
But some of your sister or brother were born in America.
Yes, the whole 4.
The whole 4?
The younger 4.
Yes. So they were American citizens?
Oh, sure. That's how we, they had the case. We had to get a lawyer. Then after he came on Ellis Island, the lawyer, and he said, gee, you never bought a house, no property, you have nothing in the United States. So my mother says, no, we have nothing. I just have another little boy that died. I have some property, plots.
Plots?
In the cemetery.
Oh, yes.
Oh, he says, well, that's something, he says, and I'll go work on that. So he went out and he started with other lawyers. They started looking into our plots that we had in St. John's Cemetery in Queens. So then after they came back after a week, and they said, well, it looks like maybe we'll win the case because of that. Because you have some kind of property. It was not a home, but it was like some kind of property that we had, and it was like the plots in the cemetery. And then go downstairs right away. And you wait till they call you for breakfast. You wait. You don't, till everybody, like, we got orders when to go and eat. Yeah. We couldn't go, everybody didn't go together. You waited.
Those kind of beds?
Yes, just like that. That was the kind of beds, yeah. But they were like a lot, like all lined up that way, and then another line this way. Sure, this is all
Oh, there is another space, much more abandoned than these. We have to go through this little...
Through that, we go from underneath.
Yes, from underneath.
We have to go. I guess I can make it, huh?
Yes.
A lot of photographs too?
No, that was the dining room. We saw old photographs.
Oh, you saw them?
Yes, we saw them. So maybe it was there that you had...
Yeah, but there were a lot of tables,
Yes.
Now it's empty. But then there was all tables, you sit around, and you go get your own dish, no waitresses to serve you or anything.
And you remember those windows, for instance?
Yeah, sure, those windows, I remember. It was like that the only place we could look out. We couldn't go outside to get fresh air or see the light through these windows. Yes. Only through these windows we used to see the light. It was not a thing that you could go outside a lot, or even in the yard. They weren't allowed in the yard. Only through these windows, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
It was very glad to get out. I know. Oh, I tell you. What you could every day cry, tears, every day, because we used to see other people go out to America and not us.
Yeah.
You
stayed 2 months.
We stay there over 2 months. Over 2 months. And then people would come 1 day, 2 days, and then they would let them out. And we say, why can't we go out? And you got to wait. You never got called. And every time after they used to do the road call, they didn't call us to go out to America. My mother used to start to cry and cry and cry. She'd say, when are they going to call us? I think we're going to go back. But then when they did call us, you know, they says, okay, now you could go to America. We couldn't believe it. You know, we couldn't believe it. They took the couple of suitcases, and then we had to come back for the trunks a week later.
Well, now I think you have to go because you will miss the boat and you have to stay. So thank God.
Né en Pologne en 1900, Nathan Solomon vient d'une famille beaucoup plus aisée que celle de la plupart des immigrants d'Europe centrale. Son père possédait une fabrique de bonbons et quand Nathan Solomon partit en Amérique, seul, le 26 juin 1923, sa mère lui donna $1000 qu'il cacha sous sa chemise et auquel, nous dit-il, il ne toucha jamais, voulant se prouver qu'il était capable de réussir par ses propres moyens. De tous ceux que nous avons rencontrés, Nathan Solomon est probablement celui qui a le plus précieusement conservé les archives de son histoire.
Although my mother, my brothers and my sisters in the family asked me not to leave, but I carried on the tendency that I'll rather be a free man with hunger than to be a wealthy son to have everything without freedom. And I was looking for freedom. And the freedom was to go out to the world, and there was no other free land than America. On June 26th, 1923, I have decided to leave. And the last word that I said to my mother at the railroad station, we are parting, but I feel I have the body and you have the soul, to my mother. So we are parting, but I still carry the soul until this present day.
That's your day,
This is from Europe.
your journal
This is
you kept at that time.
I kept it, yes. But I must go back to my hometown. I refused to go to serve the Polish army. I rejected and I refused. To do this, I would not have been taken to the army under one condition. If I would make myself and my own body with my own hands trachoma in my eyes.
Oh, to avoid the
To avoid
Polish army,
the draft.
you made
Yes.
drafting. You made yourself
Trachoma.
trachoma.
I went to Dr. Jaworski in Lemberg, Lvov, and I asked him, so I said, that's the only thing. So I had a friend of mine who had trachoma. He had this already, so he gave me a piece of cotton and he rubbed his eyes and I rubbed this to my eyes, and in 3 days later I had trachoma. But arriving here, I had to go through a physical, and they put me into the hospital on Ellis Island. And I spoke to the doctor, so he says to me that he believes that I will have to be sent back. And I was jittery.
You were?
Jittery.
Jittery.
And I said to him immediately, to Poland I shall not return.
Yes.
I will return to Poland only under one condition, as an American citizen. But to return to Poland as a Polish citizen, I'll rather jump to the sea during my voyage. on the 21st of July,
Yes.
I was released from Ellis Island, and I took my baggage along. So I met my two cousins, and they took me to Villette Street.
So where?
Villette
Villette
Street
Street.
on the east side,
East side.
to an apartment where they lived on the 6th floor. And I asked them, I was afraid to go out. So they said to me, now you are a free man. And I had two tiny satchels, not with diamonds or anything, but I had my underwear, my shirts, everything. So they picked me up to the roof. I was on the 6th floor. They walked with me to the roof. It was at night. They took the satchels with whatever I had, and they threw it out.
Straight out.
And I worked very hard. In a period of 4 years, I had 5 stores.
5 stores.
5 stores, under the name of the New York Butter and Egg Stores.
New York.
New York Butter and Egg Stores. And the slogan was, serving with a smile.
Smart. Yes, I understand.
And I was very successful. And one day, it was in the year 1931, so the manager of the bank says to me, I see you are depositing, you are paying out, but you know you have here a lot of money. Your assets over $10,000. So I walked out from there, and I said to myself, now my mother deserves me. I became an American citizen. My mother deserves that I shall go and visit her. So I went and I sold 4 stores, and 1 store I left here, and I went to Europe. I went to Europe on the day of March 11th, 1931.
Yes.
I came to Europe, so they were looking for me, because I did not come to the military.
Yes.
So an inspector from the military came in and he spoke to my mother. He says, I hear your son is here. So I said, yes, I am here. And I wore the American flag, an emblem of American patriotism. And I had the pass with me. I said, you and me have nothing in common anymore. I'm an American, but you are Polish. I came to my mother, she is in Poland, but you can do me anything. The following morning, I took the train, I went to Lemberg. And Lemberg was not the ambassador, and Lemberg was the consulate. And I came into the consulate and I showed him this, and I said to him, here is my passport, and so happened to me yesterday. So he says, Mr. Solomon, you don't worry about anything. You are under my protection. You are a free American. And that was the happiest hour of my days.
Chaque paroisse italienne organise au printemps une fête en l'honneur de son saint patron, avec procession, défilé de majorettes, kermesse, manège et tirage de tombola au profit des œuvres de l'église. Celle que nous avons filmée se déroulait dans Esther Street, cette rue du Lower East Side qui fut successivement habitée par les Irlandais et les Juifs, et qu'aujourd'hui, les Italiens et les Chinois se partagent. C'est dans une autre paroisse proche de Greenwich Village que nous avons fait la connaissance de Madame Croce qui, depuis presque 30 ans, travaille bénévolement le soir à la préparation de ces grandes festivités.
When did you came to America?
1912.
1912.
That's right.
How old were you?
15 and a half.
15, yeah. You were born in Italy?
I was born in Italy, sure.
Yes.
Sure.
In North?
North of Italy.
North of Italy.
That's right.
And what's your father doing?
My father was a carpenter.
A carpenter.
That's right.
And why did you came to America?
Well, because over there it was bad. There was no way to earn money. So my uncle called me here.
Your uncle
My
was
uncle,
there?
my mother's brother.
Your mother's brother? Came before?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. You know when he came?
No, I couldn't. I have no idea.
And you were of a large family? You had
He came with my grandmother,
Yes.
my mother's mother, and my aunt.
Or you were three?
Yeah, we were three of us. That's right.
How was the first trip? I mean, when you came to America?
It was rough. It was rough.
Yes.
Food was no good.
Yeah.
We couldn't even eat at the table. We used to eat like beggars there on the side. Terrible. It was very bad. With the tin plates.
Tin plates?
Oh, it was awful. Yeah.
You were on steerage? You were third class passengers?
I was in the third class.
Third class?
That's right.
Yes.
My grandmother was in second class
Your
because she was old.
Yeah.
Yeah, but us, we were in the third class.
A lot of people?
We couldn't afford it to spend more.
Yes.
We were poor. That's right.
And then you went to Ellis Island?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. That's where we landed. Yeah, right. And then from there, we went on the tugboat,
Yes.
and they took us over.
How was it in Ellis Island?
The what?
Ellis Island.
Ah, terrible. I don't want to see it again. No, I don't. I wouldn't like to see it again.
How
It
was
was
it?
terrible. So many. They looked like a cattle all over the place. There's so many people. So many. Oh my God. Terrible. Yeah, it was rough. And when I got here, looked for a job. Found a job in the men's suits, finishing suits, for $5 a week.
You worked before when you were in Italy? You started.
In Italy, I used to be, helping my mother and everything, and then I went to Torino.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
School?
No, school.
No school.
Work.
Work.
Sure.
What work?
Work for the rich people. That's all. That's what I used to do. Clean,
Clean.
shopping, and wash clothes.
Oh,
That's
I
it.
see. You work all your life?
All my life. Since I was 10 and a half years old. I work until, it's about 7 more years that I'm retired now.
You retired for...
Then I work in flowers. That was my last job, in flowers.
In flowers.
Artificial flower.
Artificial.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tell you, I did all kinds of trades
Yes.
to make a living. That's all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why? Why
Yeah,
did you
because
change?
I wasn't well off. I had to work to eat.
Yes.
I got married, and after that, I was 22 years old when I got married.
22.
Okay, 22 I was, yeah.
Yes.
And I had a good husband. And he passed away.
So
We were happy.
You
Got 2 children,
2 children.
boy and a girl. I had 3 rather, but one died. Yeah, she caught the whooping coffin.
Oh,
She was
I see.
38 days old, that's all.
He was very...
At that time, they didn't have what
they...
they got today, that they can, they do miracles today, that years ago they didn't. They didn't know much about it. So she died, that's all. I got 2 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren.
2 great-grandchildren. What your children does?
Well,
what do they
my
do?
son, he's a machinist.
Machinist, yes.
Yes. And my daughter, she's a dressmaker.
Dressmaker?
Mm-hmm.
Like you were in Italy?
Well, yes.
And your grandchildren?
But she went to school.
She went to school?
My grandson, he's 18.
18?
Yes. And my other one, he's an electrical engineer.
Electrical engineer.
That's
And
right.
he has two sons.
And the electrical engineer, he's got 2 girls. They're over there. I don't know where they're. Here.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
the little girls.
Yeah, the little girls. And my grandson, he's only 18. He's not married yet. He still go to school. So, that's all. That's the family I got.
Do you think that if you have stayed in Italy, it would have been different for you?
No, I wouldn't like it.
You won't like it?
No. It's different life. I'm so used to here. I came here young, you know what I mean? And I got used to it here. That's all. Lately, I only have my sister, that's all. For the cousins, you know. I'd rather have my family here, be with my family here.
Yes.
You know.
But if all your family have stayed in Italy, do you think you would have get the same opportunity to make a living as you did in...
No, I don't care for it no more. There's too many communists, too many things that I don't like. That's all. Here's a free country. God bless America. That's all.
I came here the 5th of May, 1909.
How old were you?
I was born in 1884, figure it out. I was about 23 years old.
23 years old. And why did you came?
Because I was in the old Russia. I suffered a lot of persecution. When I was 17, I was arrested in the city of Kursk.
Kursk.
The charge was agitation against the Japanese war, Japanese-American war, agitation in the military, because I distribute a leaflet. But this is not a question, they wanted I should tell them who gave it to me, or where was it printed. Certainly I wouldn't tell them, though I was a young man in that time. In 1904, I was about 20 years old. And, but I figured I wouldn't give out anybody, and I wouldn't betray my comrades. This way I was kept about 7-8 months until I went out on bail. And I took part in the movement until the uprising of 1905.
When you came to America, you were alone?
I came to America, I found here already part of my family.
Yeah.
We were 7 children. I was the 5th one to arrive here of my family. We were 7 children here in America.
7.
Now we remain only 2. Each one made a living for himself in different capacity. My profession was ladies' tailoring. I became a member in local, as I mentioned, in Local 11. In 1910, I joined the strike of the clothmakers. But 1911, I became a member of the Ladies Tailors Union. Ladies Tailors means costume workers. We worked for Border von Goodman, Carnegie, Milken Brothers, or Stein and Blind, other first-class garments. And this way I was in the industry for a number of years. In 1915 we had the second strike. Benjamin Schlesinger was the chairman, and one name Abraham Baruch was the secretary-treasurer. They approached me in end of 1915, said, Khazanov, my name in Yiddish is Khazanov.
Yes.
Khazanov, you're the only man to whom the people have confidence. Go try to organize again the Union, because the Union was betrayed in 1915. I tried in 1916 to call individual shops, shop by shop, until the end of 1916 I called a general mass meeting where also was sent by the ILGW a vice president to help me, a man by the name of Lefkowitz, who was an able speaker. He came and he helped me at that mass meeting to mobilize the people for the strike. And we declared the strike, and in the first couple of days of the strike was settled. Settled not on the conditions we originally put out of a union shop on week work. We decided to give to every shop the right to decide how they want to work, week work or piece work. And the main thing is they should recognize the union. The main purpose was to build the union. And this way, shop by shop, within 1 year, we changed from piece work and big work.
And do you have recalls, remembrance from Ellis Island? What do you remember about Ellis Island?
When I arrived in Ellis Island, my elder brother was supposed to take me off. So he came to take me off, and people come in flocks, big groups, and the inspectors pushed one in that side, one on the other side. We didn't know what it was. All of a sudden I see the inspector made a cross on my sleeve.
A cross?
I had a blue cloth coat, overcoat.
Yeah.
I see he marked on me a cross here, and the other he doesn't mark, and he pushed one outside, and with the cross he moved outside. I see all those with crosses is put outside. At the moment I didn't know what it is. But they said, if we crossing sit outside, I took off the coat and I put them on the arm. When I went the other side, I didn't know what it's about.
Well, you don't know what the cross means?
I didn't know what the cross meant.
And you suppose that people who get a cross couldn't go...
could go one way, and the one without a cross go the other way. I said, I suppose the one who has the cross is something in it. I don't know what it is. But I went there where there's no cross.
So you want to go with a no cross?
The no cross. I went there with no cross. So I went to my brother. I met my brother there, and he took me to his house.
And that's all?
That's all.
That's it. You are a man who has, from your childhood, you were politically conscious. And what were your impressions when you came to America on the boat?
There was no impression. I know it's poor people coming. I came from poor, and I found poor. And I found poor here.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised because I knew I knew the hardship that they had here. I knew that the poor people are poor, and wherever they come, the poor people are not getting rich in one day. And those who are getting rich on the shoulders of the poor. So I wasn't surprised. But certainly that time I was happy because I was run away from the Russian prison. So I'm in prison, from one prison I run away and another
Depuis
prison.
plusieurs mois, Baruch Rassimov raconte ses souvenirs de militant syndicaliste à un chercheur en sciences sociales, John Bloom, qui les enregistre au magnétophone. Pour John Bloom, c'est un témoignage irremplaçable sur l'histoire du mouvement ouvrier aux États-Unis. Pour Baruch Rassimov, c'est une façon, à 96 ans, de continuer à militer. De l'autre côté des quartiers dévastés du Bronx, où des milliers d'immeubles de rapport ont été volontairement incendiés par leurs propriétaires, nous avons rendu visite à M. Rubman et sa famille. M. Rubman est né à Radom, comme le père de Robert Bobert, Et cette coïncidence a été le prétexte de notre rencontre. Il a quitté la Pologne pour aller en Palestine avant d'émigrer aux États-Unis en 1928.
Wo sind Sie weggefahren von Rudem? Erstens in Israel und zweitens hier.
No, ich komme weg von Rudem, da komme die Regierung, die polnische Regierung hat gewollt mich nehmen in die Armee.
Ja.
Aber ich sei gesagt, hey, ja, Jablonna, szczęścia moja dlonna. Das means, I will not come, ich will nicht kommen zu dir. Sie können tun a Uniform. In die Polaken sollen sagen, Żydy parszywe, Jiden, schmutzige Jiden. Oh, das habe ich nicht gewollt.
D'abord tanneur, puis maçon, M. Rubman dirige encore aujourd'hui avec ses deux fils une entreprise de construction. Ses deux fils, ses deux belles-filles et deux de ses petites-filles participaient à la conversation. Et parce que 3 générations étaient ainsi rassemblées, l'entretien a surtout porté sur l'image que chacune d'elles se faisait de l'émigration et sur leur enracinement dans la nation américaine.
Colleges away from home.
Yes.
And they didn't have that opportunity before.
That's it.
Grandpa would like to keep everyone right in the Bronx. And yet when he was a young man, he left from Poland to Israel. He left his family and came to America. And my sister is in Boston, and David, my cousin, is in Boston, and my cousin's in Washington. He would love to have everybody right back in the Bronx. He doesn't want anyone to leave the home.
But it's just,
And
it's just a continuation, like Ellen says, of my parents leaving their roots, their place, their family, and I'm sure their family looked at them in the same way as we view our children when they go off to Boston or California or Washington or whatever the case is. I don't think there's anything special about it. There are different conditions that drive people to move, to have this mobility that you described. In the 50 or 60 years ago, the problems were persecution and difficulty in making a living. Today, as my sister-in-law Shirley says, greater opportunities here exist for younger people in various parts of the country, and we continue the same tradition, in effect, as my mother and father did when they left Europe to come here. My roots are here, and basically my roots are here because my family's here. And if my family decided, or some of the children decided to go elsewhere, possibly I would consider going. But basically I think it's where your family is and where you think you can have your best kind of life. And we're very accustomed to mobility now. It's nothing to go on an airplane and you're 6,000 miles away in 7 or 8 hours. That's good for a trip, but I would never consider leaving here. I found this to be a very comfortable place to exist.
That's okay.
What I remain with, the stories that I hear. That's what I know about Poland and what I know about my grandfather's life and my grandmother's life and my other grandfather too is also from Poland. And we remember it and we try to appreciate what they struggled through and what they ran away from. But it's difficult coming from the kind of backgrounds we come from. And the best we can do is to remember it and call it a part of our past and a part of our roots, but our experience is here.
You don't experience yourself as an immigrant.
No,
definitely.
My ancestors, I do, my grandfather.
Yes.
And not even my father. I don't think of my father
as an
immigrant, even though. «
250 000 immigrants ont été refoulés d'Ellis Island. Les navires qui les avaient amenés étaient tenus de les ramener jusqu'au port où ils avaient embarqué. Certains revenaient dans leur ville natale, d'autres s'installaient ailleurs en Europe et quelques années plus tard retentaient leur chance. Nous n'aurions jamais pensé qu'il nous serait possible de rencontrer l'un d'entre eux. Une série de coïncidences et de hasards proches du miracle nous a fait connaître Madame Rabinovici, qui partit à 15 ans de Roumanie pour les États-Unis avec sa sœur cadette. Elles étaient seules et furent toutes deux refoulées à cause de leur trop jeune âge. Madame Rabinovici revint en Roumanie. Sa sœur repartit plus tard pour les États-Unis. Elle-même, des années après, vint en France.
Si vous étiez rentré en Amérique,
ça aurait été très bien. Ça
qu'est-ce
aurait
que
été
vous
très
auriez
bien
fait?
parce que j'étais très capable. Je faisais la couture.
Oui.
J'étais très bien développée. 15 ans, j'étais comme de 18 ou 20 ans. Et j'avais beaucoup de talent. Je serais arrivée beaucoup mieux qu'en Roumanie.
Vous croyez?
Est-ce que... Je suis sûre. Oui. Je suis sûre. Je suis sûre que ma sœur qui est partie avec moi, elle est partie après, en 1920. Elle est partie. Elle ne savait pas rien faire. Elle est arrivée quand même de bien gagner sa vie. Tandis que moi, j'avais des mains en ordre.
Mais vous pensez que vous auriez mieux réussi aux États-Unis, à New York, qu'en Roumanie ou en France ou en...
Absolument sûr.
Absolument
sûr.
Vous imaginez quoi? Qu'est-ce que vous imaginez encore
Je serais maintenant, je suis presque, je suis arrivée à rien. Je suis arrivée parce que mon mari il est venu en France, je suis venue avec lui. Et ici, on ne m'a pas permis de travailler. Et voilà, je suis depuis 47 ans ici, on ne m'a pas encore naturalisée.
Vous n'avez pas la nationalité française?
Non. Parce que nous n'avons pas d'enfants, on n'a pas eu d'enfants. Mon mari n'a pas fait la guerre, mon mari n'a pas fait le service militaire parce qu'il était déjà âgé. Et voilà, on est arrivé à rien. Tandis qu'en Amérique, on reste 5 ans, on vous invite, on vous demande de prendre la nationalité.